Hey, Ben here once again with Studio on the Lake. It's been a little while. I've been kind of busy doing things at the garden and around and whatnot. So here's a little part of the cleanup out in the studio that I found. I noticed Jordy has been doing some dragonflies lately. So here's an old dragonfly carving that was done 15, 20 years ago. It used to sit in a plant. So this is a dragonfly on a cattail, kind of a play that I made on dragons and dragonflies. So this used to stick around in a plant at the house, and I don't know, a couple years ago he got mangled or broken or something, and like a lot of carvings, and you'll see another one of a dragon that I've got a box full or a chest full of ones. Here's one of his wings, and this one is made out of wood. I don't know where I carved this, probably in Germany. But they all got busted, and I've had every intention of fixing it, and this seemed like a good time to do that. And so in this one, I'm going to show you how I put this guy back together and what he looks like. And I'm going to also show you a big dragon that I carved when I was in Iraq, 10 or 11 years ago, that got all busted up on the trip home. And I just never finished it or repaired it. It had some of the initial painting on it, but was never completely finished. So this guy was finished. You see that tail wiggling? It has a joint there. When I put it together, this one's probably 5 pieces, and each of those pieces is oriented with the grain on the long way so it doesn't break off. Of course, as you can see, that didn't necessarily help his feet and his hands. So here's what's left of the cattail portion. This was about 2 foot long, so it could stick inside of a plant. And what you see me doing with all this stuff is dusting the sawdust off it, or it's set in the corner or on a box. You can see the remnants of his hands and his feet on that there, on the stock of the cattail. He's missing an arm, but the rest of it is there with a few exceptions. This upper left arm has a little peg. That guy was everything is pegged and glued with 5-minute epoxy like I usually do. So I'm still missing a hind leg on the back side of that. I'm gonna have to recreate that and touch up the paint. There's that leg that's missing. So this will be a quick video showing you this guy and the dragon, the bigger dragon. You can kind of see it in the background on the paint box there. He also has 2 horns on his head. One is broken completely off, and one is kind of mangled. So here's 5-minute epoxy. We'll start with the tail, and there you have it. That's the way the big dragon and this one is put together. Again, the reason for this is instead of one piece carving, which would most definitely break, this one has the grain running lengthwise in the portion of the piece. 5-minute epoxy liberally. Stick it back together. I'm glad I pulled this out. This is one of my favorite carvings of all time that I've ever done. And I have not done a second one. I don't even recall why I did it other than a play on, again, like I said, dragonflies sitting on cattails. It's what happens when you don't have enough hands. Hey, I had the dwarves here at the house for a while, so I haven't didn't do any carving during that time. You saw a fishing video we put out. Since then, we've been fighting to try to keep the deer wait until the garden's grown up, even though it's got a 9-foot fence around it, and then they break through the fence and destroy the orchard and eat everything that's supposed to be there. So here, while that guy's drying in the background before I put the wings on, here's a dusty, bigger dragon. You can see all the dust over the last 10 years. Sawdust, primarily. This guy is a dragon who's given a fairy some flowers. There were 3 flowers originally, and the wings are laid in the background. You'll see those in a minute here. I never did finish this. He got a little bit of the initial painting. He was all put together, but it was not put on a stand. And like I said, I carved this guy probably 2009, 2010 when I was in Iraq. And it was kind of fun because people would stop by. I basically flew night vision goggles at night and worked all night long, and so I would sit at my office and wait for the call where we had to fly the quick reaction force or something along those lines, and I would carve. So every morning people would come by and see over the course of a year how this guy was coming along. He has metal for claws, and just like the other one, he's that little one he's done in a couple different sections. So there's his body. You can see a piece on his neck there. That's where the fairy had. You'll see in a minute. You can kind of see her in the lower left-hand corner there. That's where she was holding on and whispering in his ear. Here's the tail, a little bit bigger than the other. This stuff takes forever to carve, because you're carving each individual scale in there, and you get them. There's a fairy hand, and there is the tail. Once again, this guy I did not finish the painting on him. What he has on him now are base coats, and as you'll see, it's kind of like a puzzle. It's been so long since I played around with it. So I'll peg that piece, put it back together. It looks like I didn't peg the back portion of the tail either. I don't know why I would have done that. That's going to come off of his butt when he's all done. So he was sitting upright, kind of on his butt there. You can see me trying to figure out where the tail came around and wrapped up inside the flower, it looks like, and across his front. I will do a separate video of putting this guy back together and finishing up the painting on him. I'm not sure. I think maybe in a couple of those you'll see I am still working the cuckoo clock. I have almost finished the left side of it, and I'm working on the numbers one at a time, cutting them out of bone. So his tail came around the back. He sat upright, lower right-hand corner. He sat straight up in the air. And here is one of his wings. And I'm going to do a little bit more work on attaching those. So the way these wings are designed, just a quick one over the world, I carved the wood on the outside, and then has a wire stuck down through the middle, and then I take a piece of cotton. I don't think I had cotton. I think I took an old t-shirt, and I glue it in with epoxy, the cloth, and then I go ahead and put shellac over the cloth and give it a little bit of stiffness, and that saves me the trouble of having to carve something this big, which would be really, really thin, unlike the small dragonfly, whose wings are wood, and the fairy on the left there, on the lower left, the blue fairy, who was not finished painting either, just has a base coat. So there's the stumps where his wings came out of the back. And here's kind of how they went on. You can see the left side of his ear is missing, or an ear, or I guess that would be a flap on the back of his head, and that's where the fairy was attached, on that side of the head, whispering in his ear. So there's one wing. And there's the second wing. The thing stands about 2 foot tall, all said and done. And he had, I don't know if I put, I don't think so. I have to look at it, but he didn't have the little horn additions on it. So here's the fairy girl. She just has a couple of base coats on. And the painting was never complete. You can see her arm broke off. Actually, both arms. Looks like kind of one of those Milas Divina, Venus de Milo statues. So she was up on this side of his head, whispering into his ear, or giving him a kiss, because he picked some flowers for her. That was the original concept. Trying to figure out where that break comes back in. It looks like it was right about there. And then her arm came around, kind of holding on to his neck, kind of like that. And you could imagine the wings in the background. So there's that character. And again, this is a quick show you what I got with this guy. I'll put him back together and then finish the painting on him in another video. So back to the wings on the dragonfly. This is a good view of his one horn that seems to be missing. This is a nightmare. I did glue those back on and sat there for 10 minutes holding them while the 5-minute epoxy was still not completely set. And then I propped it up. So I apologize. This part here is a little bit out of focus. Once again, I do shoot pretty wide, and then I zoom down, and a lot of times my gray hair gets in the way. White or gray seems to suck the focus away. So here's the dowel or stock of the cattail, and I'll sharpen the end of that. I got a hole in that stump that's standard sitting there, and I stuck the tip of this thing in there so that it would dry. Poof, instant holder. So here's the missing leg for the back. I just grabbed a piece of scrap that's laying off on the side. Have a lot of scrap laying around now that we're not running the stove. That's my old German jeweler saw. And See what I mean about the gray hair getting in the photo and sucking all the focus away. So that's going to be his hand or claw portion. There it is, glued in. We'll let that go. That guy on the left there, I've been farting around with him when I'm messing around. You get a little Yeti. So within the next day or two, after not getting videos for about 3 weeks, you'll get 3 videos. You'll get that one. I've got a cottonwood watermill that I had an idea for, and I really love carving that cottonwood that came from Jordy over at Fusion Carving. He sent me some down from Canada, and it's a lot of fun carving it, and I was trying to think of something different, so I did a cliffside watermill with three wheels coming down. You'll see that video. It's all edited. I just need to add the voiceover and put some music to it. So this will be the first one you'll see probably later today or tomorrow. You'll see the second, and then the third you'll see that little Yeti. I will break this down and do a painting video of this, since people like to see the painting also. I don't usually show the painting, but I will on this one, and let you see that he gets back together. I'm trying not to break more pieces off there. This thing's a mess when you really get down to it. Come to think of it, there's a similar dragon to this on my dragon lamp. If you go back, by all means subscribe to the channel. We're at 850 right now, and at 1,000 we get monetized, so you get the pleasure of clicking through some ads, and it pushes a little money in my direction. Certainly not enough to retire, unfortunately, or you'd see me doing this full time, but it does help. It pays for the bits and the burrs. I also have a sponsorship from Cattail, very similar to Jordy. I just haven't put up anything on that, and I also have a Facebook page that I'm working on to help promote some of this stuff. I do keep up with Jordy, and you should go over and look at his stuff and subscribe. He's great fun. He gives me great ideas. That's where the idea for this came from. He's working with the Dragonfly. Like him, I do a little stained glass also. I've never done a video of it. I also do some painting, watercolor and oil painting. Primarily, that's a winter exercise, as is this carving. I do have a garden in the woodlot. I did get my big sawmill going. It needs to cut some post and beams, and this year we added ducks out at the farm, so we're busy messing around with ducks, and we built a duck pen, a duck cage, and a garden. Repaired the fence, and that didn't work. So next year I will. I fixed it up, put electric fence around it to keep the deer out. They kind of destroyed it. They ate the zucchini, part of the corn, the tomatoes, destroyed a couple of apple trees that the rabbits and the mice had girdled a couple of years ago, and I grafted. It's really quite annoying to feed the deer. You drive out there, it's an acreage out about 2 miles from the house, and they just stand there and stare at you. The rabbits hop about 2 feet away. So we're getting close to the end of this thing here. What I'm doing right now is blending in the bottom of that cattail, and then I'll take off some of the glue, extra glue. I do have to come back and burn in the scales and do a little bit of carving on his foot there. And then, of course, the painting, and I still need to put, I'll probably do 2 of them at one time, 2 little horns on his head, since the one is broke off. And then since I'm not real fond of the painting on the wings, I'll probably repaint those over, but I'm going to try to get away with not painting his body once again if I can. There's a big goober of 5-minute epoxy in there. I got a rough cut saw that just kind of takes that stuff off real nice down to where I can touch the wood. That wing right there where I'm messing with it has broke a couple times, and I glued it back together, and that's what you see me doing, is taking that down smooth again. And what's coming off is that epoxy. Well, that's pretty much going to do this character today. He's pretty much back together, all the hard parts, and each of these little segments. That's why I busted the big dragon out to show you and repair on him, as I needed something to do in the 20 or 30 minutes between each of these little sections drying on this. He's still not completely set to where I could handle him. You saw me treating him pretty nice there, but there he is. There's a dragonfly on a cattail. Like I said, we're at 850 right now, about to go over 1,000. So if you want to support the channel, go ahead and subscribe, share it with your friends, have them take a look at it. It's been Ben with Studio on the Lake, and again, there'll be a couple videos in the next couple days. Take care. Bye-bye.